Georgia Powers was very big on family. No matter how many greats were in front of her nieces and nephews, she remembered and loved them all. Below are some pictures of Senator Powers with her immediate family and her extended family, including me. I'm the tall kid in the back wearing the Green Lantern t-shirt. Georgia Montgomery Davis Powers was born Georgia Lee Montgomery in Jimtown, Kentucky, just outside of Springfield, Kentucky, on October 19, 1923. She grew up in a racially segregated neighborhood with 8 brothers, along with parents Ben Gore Montgomery and Frances Walker Montgomery. Montgomery grew the second oldest in the family of 9 children. Arriving in Louisville, the family lived in a small apartment on York Street. Georgia often told the story of the only whooping she ever received in that apartment. Her father, who was supposed to be watching her, had fallen asleep. She was playing with a broom in the fireplace and caught the curtains on fire. She would say that was the first and last whooping my father. She had 8 brothers: Joseph Ben, Robert, John, Albert, Philip, Lawrence Franklin, James Isaac, and Rudolph. And the 1940 census shown here shows that her brother Rudolph had not yet been born.
Well, I'll tell you about Aunt Georgia. She was 13 years older than me. And I didn't know her too well as a child, but I knew that when she was here at home, living at home, I was just a baby. Mm-hmm. But when I was born, Aunt Georgia was looking for a little sister. And as I understand from my parents, that when I was born, Aunt Georgia cried for 2 weeks. Because I ended up being a boy. So they was wondering what they were going to name me. Mm. They had originally thought before I was born that they were going to name me Laura. Laura Francis. Mm.
Okay.
So after I was born, they just finally decided, after a week or so, to name me Lawrence Franklin.
Okay.
And Georgia was the primary person to suggest that I be named Lawrence Franklin.
Its founding in 1855, Berea College had been educating both African American and white students in a non-discriminatory manner. However, in 1904, the Kentucky legislature passed the Day Law, which prohibited African American and white students from receiving an education at the same school or in schools that were located less than 25 miles apart. As a young girl, she attended Louisville's all-black schools, Mary B. Talbot School, Virginia Avenue Elementary, Madison Junior High, and she graduated from Central Colored High School in 1940, and from 1940 to 1942 attended the Louisville Municipal College. In 1943, Georgia married her husband Norman Frederick Davis. They adopted a son, William. Unfortunately, this union would not last, and they divorced in 1968. She married James L. Powers in 1973. They remained together until his death in 1996. A church member, Verna Smith, encouraged Georgia to take her first steps into politics by joining the U.S. senatorial campaign staff of Wilson Wyatt. Powers was a member of the Allied Organization for Civil Rights, AOCR, which organized the March on Frankfurt in support of equality in public accommodations in 1964. Citizen Shame, Stereotypes, and Black Women in America includes a quote that says, "To be deemed fair, a system must offer its citizens equal opportunities for public recognition and groups cannot systematically suffer from misrecognition in the form of stereotype or stigma. When talking about the spearheading of the civil rights movement, many give Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and their male contemporaries credit. The movement wouldn't have been possible without the work of women like Georgia Powers, because before she was a Kentucky state senator, Powers, along with a group of other individuals, including Martin Luther King, orchestrated the March on Frankfort, Kentucky.
Well, that was in 1964 when Dr. King came to Louisville along with Jackie Robinson. Now, Jackie Robinson was the first black baseball player in the major leagues. Jackie Robinson come in to Louisville with Dr. King to the Louisville airport. But my sister, Senator Powers, asked me if I could. At the time I was working also at the Hathaway and Clark Funeral Home. At the same time, I was working with the post office at night on the midnight shift. My sister asked me if I could get a limousine from the funeral home, go to the airport and pick up Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Jackie Robinson and take them to Frankfort for a march on Frankfort. We were marching for open houses then. I did. I got the limousine, went to the airport and picked up Dr. King and Jackie Robinson, along with Senator Powers. I took them to Frankfort, Kentucky to attend the March on Frankfort. That was in March of 1964. When we finally got to Frankfort, I pulled up around the Capitol, and policemen were stopping me right there. They said, all you have to do is get out of the car, or we'll take care of the car while you go to the march. Right around the corner, there was about 15 to 20,000 people in the street, ready to march. We joined the crowd, and Dr. King had a few words to say to the crowd. He had a bullhorn they were talking through, and we proceeded to go in and start the march on Frankfort. Now, Senator Powers wanted to have the governor, at that time, I think his name was Ed Breathitt, Governor Breathitt. She was asking him to come out to speak to the crowd before they started the march. But he declined to do that. But she wanted to introduce him to Dr. King also. So since he didn't, she took Dr. King and Jackie Robinson in the governor's office and introduced them. So afterwards, they came out and we started the march up Capitol Avenue in Frankfort. That was during the March on Frankfort. Okay.
After working in the Democratic Party's campaign headquarters for 5 years, Georgia became a candidate and elected to the 33rd District of the Kentucky State Senate in 1967. This made her the first African American and the first woman elected to a full term as a state senator. Powers served 21 years until she retired from the state senate in December of 1988. Nervous at all that she might not have won that seat?
Well, we all were. You mean as far as her being elected?
Yes.
Yes, we were all apprehensive about that because, like I say, she was the first black, that we knew of that was even running campaigning for the office. But we had quite a few hecklers when we were out campaigning. They threw eggs at us. They threw a lot of vile anguish at us. It was just really horrible, but we didn't seem to mind because it seemed that most of these neighborhoods that we were going into were on our side. They were supporting us. And we just didn't have too much problem with that.
While in office, Senator Georgia Powers was also an entrepreneur.
She opened a restaurant at 28th and Greenwood in Louisville. She called it the Senator's Restaurant. She and her husband ran that restaurant for numerous amount of years. And next door, my brother James and I, along with Georgia, purchased the cleaners next door to the Senator's Restaurant. We ran that cleaners. It was formerly the Moon Cleaners, but after the 1968 riots, the Moon Cleaners moved out. They were white, and they sold the cleaners to us in 1968. I can't remember the years that we operated the cleaners, but we converted it into Senator's Cleaners.
When Senator Powers retired in 1988, she continued her work. She became a founding member of FONRI, the Friends of Nursing Home Residents, who organized volunteers in Louisville that visited nursing homes. She also founded Quest, Quality Education for All Students, to prevent the resegregation of local schools. On June 17, 2010, under House Joint Resolution 67, the 7.5-mile stretch of Interstate 64 in West Louisville, formerly known as the Shawnee Expressway, was renamed in honor of Senator Georgia Powers. Several guests, along with former Kentucky Governor Steve Beshear, were in attendance for the unveiling of the new signs on June 16th, the day before. Below is a picture of few more members of Senator Powers' family, my extended family, holding the new expressway sign. Georgia Davis Powers' endowment on a chair at the University of Kentucky Center for Research on Violence Against Women affirms the importance of addressing race, ethnicity, and other sociocultural factors in the study of violence against women. Kentucky Secretary of State introduced the Georgia Davis Powers Award, which is in 3 different tiers of gold, silver, and bronze, based on how many high school seniors who have turned 18 years old by an upcoming election are registered to vote. As an author, Georgia would write several books, including Dr. King's Last Day, Celia's Land, I Shared the Dream, The Pride, Passion, and Politics of the First Black Woman Senator from Kentucky, and a Bible prophecy. Powers died on January 30th, 2016 at the home of Lawrence, the brother she named, in Louisville, after suffering from congestive heart failure for several years. She was 92. She is interred with James Powers in Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville, Kentucky. In Eloquent Rage, there is a quote that reads, Black girls learn that managing our fears is the key to a family's ability to survive and thrive. After Georgia Powers died in 2016, many members of her family, including me, were devastated and a lot of tears were shed. One thing is for sure, throughout her life, Powers created a legacy that will never be forgotten and will always be celebrated. The one word I would use to describe Senator Powers is warrior, and the main reason is that she did not allow the racism and discrimination that she faced throughout her life and time in public office stop her from fighting for what she believed in. Also, she didn't care about the negative responses of the Caucasian members of the state Senate had about the bills she passed, as well as what she was fighting for. She just did what she felt was right and kept going until her death.
I really appreciate you wanting to interview me for the things that I know about and things that I've entertained about and things that I participated in. And you're the first person. In fact, you're my first great grandson that have asked me for an interview.
Wow.
You are, and I really appreciate it, Mr. Aaron Dunlap.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.